Welcome to another episode of Stowe Nation, a production of Park Media. Before I introduce today's guest, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, share, and leave a 5-star review. And if you find this podcast useful in any way and want to pay us the ultimate compliment, head on over to our Patreon page where you can subscribe to be a Classic, Stealth, or Beast Mode subscriber. In this week's episode, we get to meet Graham and Michelle. Graham and Michelle Burtoft are partners in quarantine who are currently traveling the country in their 2021 Storyteller Beast that they've named Barney the Shakavan. They're one of few owners who've actually owned a Classic and a Beast Mode, and they didn't expect to begin living in their van full-time in 2021. Originally from Illinois and Ohio, it's a typical story of a farm girl meets a city boy and both have a thirst for adventure. Graham and Michelle have been married for 17 years, but van life will determine if they make it to 18. And if you follow these two on Instagram, you've probably seen their adorable yet spoiled pup, Riley, who always steals the spotlight. Both presently reside in Washington State. Michelle works in a supply chain product management for a tech company, and Graham works in a procurement project management for a large travel company. Outside of van life, Michelle's hobbies include gardening, photography, and fixing stuff, or being an early adopter of new technology. Graham loves to build scale models of airplanes, tanks, and race cars, and you'll also find him at a racetrack or grilling outside when not assembling and installing Michelle's finds. And when there's not a pandemic going on, they love to travel the world to gain cultural experiences, aka the World Tour of Rocks, with most recent favorite destinations of Madagascar, Cambodia, and Jordan. Although they can't wait to get back on a plane, they're loving this new adventure and sharing in such an amazing community. And be sure to follow their adventures on Instagram under the username Can We Go That Way. And with that, please welcome Graham and Michelle to the Stowe Nation family. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to all the audience members. If you guys are watching the YouTube version, we are out in Moab. Meeting of the Modes 2021. It's the first major meetup for all the storytellers. And what's really cool is that we are out in the desert, in a lot of dirt, and we're all having a lot of fun. So, I mean, you can't beat it. I love the community. And Graham and Michelle have agreed to come on to the podcast for Stowe Nation. And I think we all know them, so I won't get too much into the introductory portion, but I kind of want to open up this podcast a little bit differently in the fact that I'm going to ask you a question that I haven't asked anyone else. So are you guys ready?
Sure.
You get the first one.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us something that's not already in your bio about you that you guys are really passionate about. Like, what do you guys lose sleep about?
Oh, you first.
Oh no, that's not good. No, I don't know about losing sleep, but what are we passionate about? I think I personally am passionate about learning new things. So typically it steers towards culture. So I mean, I know a lot of us travel. And so I jokingly call what we do the tour of rocks, because we always end up, clearly there's a few rocks here, or Petra or Cambodia, the temples. And I'm so passionate about that, but I'm also passionate about learning how we are all connected to each other. And so that gets me up, that gets me excited. And with the pandemic, we haven't been able to fly as much. And so the nice thing about the vans have been we found another way to travel and see some things we don't normally get to do. So
yeah. And I kind of echo that. And then I think the other thing, like for me, is it's not something I expected, but I have a ball showing off the van.
Yeah.
Like showing people what we've done and then hearing their response and then seeing what they're doing that's a little different. That has just been so much fun. It's become a kind of a mini passion in and of itself. You know, it's like when you have one of these vans, you pull up somewhere and people are always, oh, hey, what is that? You know, can you tell me about it? And it's just, it's hard sometimes to stop and go, wait, I'm sorry, I can't tell you anymore. We have to go now. So yeah. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
That's great.
You're probably asking for like non-van related or non-travel related things.
Yeah.
I would say probably some oddball things. I still have a family in Illinois in the Midwest, and they have a farm. And so I will tell you my happiest place, if you put me in a tractor cab in the middle of this farm in Illinois, it's just the most peaceful thing because you don't have to worry about work. You know, it's just you and your thoughts and thinking about the world, and actually being able to see what you do at the end of the day. And I think it's kind of, I don't know, it just brings me back to like who I am, because I think sometimes we get so disconnected with technology and our jobs and our careers, and sometimes it's nice to just take it back to where you were as a kid, and enjoy that, being out in nature in the middle of nowhere. So that's kind of my non-van related, my happy place that makes me smile.
Yeah, I guess non-van related for me, it's getting a chance to see new things. So I love cars and airplanes and being out and stuff like this, but just getting the chance to just go and see and hear new things is always something that's just extraordinary. I mean, everybody has their own weird happy place. Michelle's is in a tractor cab. To be, mine sometimes is honestly just wandering the aisles of an office supply store. I couldn't tell you why, but just wandering and looking at pens and notepads that I do not need. I have no space for. But it calms me down. So
his fountain pen collection.
Yeah, I have
to die for.
I have a problem with fountain pens. I have a lot of fountain pens.
Wow. Do you use all those pens, or
I use most of them kind of in rotation. I have 4 or 5 of them in the van. Like I need 4 or 5 in the van. But yeah, it's kind of a something where it's like, especially if we go overseas, I try and find something like a fountain pen or something else to bring back. And important life things occur, and I get a fountain. We started this trip, I got a fountain pen before we left. So, it's just kind of silly things like that.
No, that's wonderful. I think everyone has like their little niche that they like to collect and do and whatnot. And so if it's not the van that, we're all obsessing over, then there's something else to life, I think, right?
Exactly.
But,
yeah. I mean, the van is van life, that is for sure. But it's a way for us to get out and experience the rest of it, right? It's really more of a tool, almost, I think is a way to think of it.
Yeah, and you got quite the souped up tool, to say the least.
It does all right. It gets us down the road.
So you guys, speaking of van life, you guys have been in the van living full time for what, 3-4 months now?
Living full time in the van now for about a month and a half.
Okay.
Actually, but I guess you could say really since the day after Christmas, with a 2-week break when we moved out of our apartment. So otherwise, it's really, I guess, from that sense, been since Christmas, honestly.
Okay, so what made you say, hey, I just want to move out of the apartment and move into a sardine can? How'd that happen?
So we'd been like, it absolutely was not expected, but we left the day after Christmas on what we thought would be a 2-week vacation, and 6 weeks later we got home. But along the way we just started thinking, the van's expensive, the house is expensive. The van, at least we can go from place to place. If we don't like our neighbors, okay, well, we pack up and leave. And it kind of became a safe space for us. And we talked about, back where we were in Seattle, we had a great apartment, we had a fantastic view, but we had construction, we had fire engines, we had everything that goes along with being in a big city. And we were just like, you know what, it's time for a change. We don't know where we want to go next, but we're going to take advantage of the fact that we've got the van and go explore, go to some places we've never been. And I think that's really been the key for the van, has been where can we go that we've never been before and that we wouldn't otherwise go.
Yeah. So. And I think it's taking advantage of the pandemic. I mean, it's such a mixed bag of what's happened over the last year that I don't think anyone expected. We're lucky enough to have jobs that we can continue to work full time from the road, at least through the end of the summer for the most part. And so this is kind of our one opportunity at this point in our lives, at this age, that we can still be employed, still bring in a paycheck, but have the chance to go see the country and be somewhat less tied down and enjoy life.
So how does that work when you have to work full time? Does one drive and you guys alternate and who gets the computer time while the other one's driving, or do you?
We tend to. So the first time we went on a trip, Michelle didn't have to work and I did, and I was working from the Groove Lounge while she drove every day. But as it is now, we tend to kind of find a spot for a week and park there, and we get everything set up, and that way we don't have to take it down every night. And then we really just kind of get situated for a little while, make sure we have good internet. But I mean, after that, like coming up, some of the trips that we're looking at, it's going to be a little bit more when do you have meetings versus when do I have meetings, and then how far do we really need to go? When do we move the van? So it's and sometimes it's right. It's all about just chasing that internet signal.
Yeah.
You get out in the middle of nowhere, and it's okay. Well, where can I stop that I'm going to have good enough signal for whatever I need to do? And so it's a challenge, but we've been pretty good at it so far.
So far, so good, yeah. And the van's worked well for us. I know some folks are using the desk in the back and then using the Groove Lounge seat to work. And I've actually found what works for us is Graham works in the back. He's got his little office, and you can kind of tell with Mr. Fountain Pen here, he's got to have everything in his little place.
That's absolutely true.
And I have a desk that I actually put on top of the kitchenette, and so I have my stand-up desk in that location as well. And I think one of the key things I found is having a headset that has a really nice microphone that isolates the noise from my neighbors, because otherwise you'd be hearing some cross-company communication. But it's worked pretty well. I think the thing is communication, and I know everyone says that, and figuring out what time your meetings are, when you're getting up, and especially if you have a critical meeting that you have to be at, making sure you're like, hey, it's a meeting with a VP or a director or whoever it may be. That I've got to have internet signal, so if you can degrade yours, and hey, kind of keep it toned down just a bit if possible too. So it's been so far so successful.
Yeah, we've been it's about planning a little bit. It's about like Michelle was saying, knowing what the schedule is. So there are certain days where I know she's going to get up and she'll be the one to walk the dog, and there are certain days where I know I get up on my first call and then I'm the one who walks the dog. Or knowing when there are those meetings that you cannot be interrupted, you can't have any background noise, and then stepping out, and one of us may be actually outside the van doing something different for a little while. But it's still it's great to be on those phone calls though, where every once in a while you get someone else who's like, the best one I had was on the first trip, someone says, is that a seagull behind you? And I'm like, yeah, that's a seagull. And then in the background you hear the foghorn just go meh. And I'm like, yeah, we're in a state park in Northern California, and you guys are back in your home office, and
Dreary Seattle.
we're just out and about having fun. And it's you figure ways out.
Good for you guys. I'm glad that you guys are making it work, because some couples, they struggle. And, it's none of my business, but you can tell when they're struggling. So it looks like you guys got a good routine and system going on.
Monday was a bad day.
Monday
I would not
day.
revisit Monday, but no, we jokingly say that we've been married 17 years. We're like, this might tell if we make it to 18 years, but no. So far so good, and it's an adventure, and it might help us too. We know there's probably going to be an end date too. So that helps, and we've got some destinations in mind. So yeah.
So since you've been on the road for the last month and a half, where's some of the best places you've been to? And will you share some of your secret places with the audience?
Should we share our favorite KOA at this point?
No.
Okay. No. We'll share some aspects afterwards with select people. It actually one of my favorite places, and it was a surprise because Michelle really enjoyed it as well. We had spectacular internet. We had great views. The facilities were reasonable. Of all places, we stopped at Laguna Seca Raceway outside of Monterey, California, and it's up on top of a hill. And we had 4 bars the whole time. I mean, it's kind of weird to judge where you're traveling and staying by cell signal, but that's what we do. That was really, really spectacular. And then
Pacific Beach State Park is
that's our favorite.
Is our favorite.
That's in Washington.
Why is that?
It's the first place we went camping. It's the first place we really went camping, not just with the van, but with a tent camp. And it's about as far north on the coast as you can get. There's not a lot of people there. There's not great cell signal there. And we just go out, and it's just so easy to just relax when we go there, and just kind of watch the beach and all that. It's
a small state campground. There's probably, 30 or 45 spots or something. And it's you park, and of course you have to choose your spot wisely as we do.
Absolutely.
But you park, the dunes are right there, and then there's the beach. So you hear the rolling waves all night long.
Oh wow, yeah.
And it's nice, and it's nice for us because it's been a reasonable 4-hour drive or so from Seattle. So it's if you just want to get out, kind of pseudo getaway, but here's some ocean motion. That's
Yeah,
nice.
we found a couple restaurants along the way, so now it's like every time when we head out, we know where we're stopping, and when we head back, we know where we're stopping. So it's I think we've probably been
Hoquiam.
there.
There's a place that
Yeah.
has root beer float ice cream.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say it's in Hoquiam, so it's great.
Yeah.
That
But
sounds delicious.
Yeah.
And you travel with a little pal named Riley, right?
Yep.
So do you have any tips and tricks when you're traveling with your dog?
So actually, that place in Hoquiam, the part of the reason we like it, we can walk up and order a corn dog that's pre-sliced for the dog. So it's, I think that the biggest thing is be aware of their needs as well. We make sure to have food and water available for him.
the bare minimum.
The bare
That's good.
minimum. I mean,
Just keep him alive.
Yeah, and like so, like the running joke that we've got is, we got a camper van for the dog. It's we just happen to enjoy it. It's really his space. We got it because of the air conditioner and the temperature control in it and everything. But I think that's probably the number one thing is just be aware of his needs as well as your own, because he does have to go to the bathroom just like we do, and so you have to be prepared for that. If you go too long, he's going to do what he needs to do.
And I think the other thing is when you're traveling with pets, and I think a lot of individuals who do this, everyone looks in a vehicle, and we're so conditioned now that, hey, it's a hot car, be careful,
Yeah.
you got to take care of the dogs. And so having some kind of a sign or a placard that say, hey, the dog is perfectly happy, he's living a life better than we are, he's cold or he's warm, don't worry about the dog. Here's a phone number, here's we're monitoring the climate remotely. I think that's been helpful as well.
Yeah, we've had that conversation a couple times when we roll into a campground, where it's, hey, the dog is fine. We're going and doing something else, but the dog is fine. The van is temperature controlled, and just letting like security of those campground hosts know. Sometimes it's just helpful.
That's a good tip. Good tip. So I'm going to ask you just a couple more questions, and then I want to open it up to the audience and have them ask you some questions.
Easy questions.
Well, I can't promise that.
It's all good.
But so let's quickly just go over some of the mods. Well, let me back up. First of all, you had a mode classic, and then you did something with that, which I don't know, and I'm hoping you'll say, and then you upgraded to beast number 13, correct?
Yeah, so we picked up the classic. We were incredibly lucky. Michelle on a Tuesday said, "Hey, there's a classic down about an hour south of us. I want to go look at it tomorrow." Okay. So we went down and it was available. It was the same color. We were just like, we hemmed and hawed for about an hour, and then it was the quickest, most expensive single financial decision we've ever made.
In half an hour.
In half an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
And so we had the classic. We had the classic for about 4 or 5 months. But about a month and a half after we got the classic, we found out about the beast mode.
Thanks, storyteller July 4th.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Great timing. So basically, we found out about that, and we've been going back and forth on what do we want to do to this one. There was all these things. We wanted to upgrade the suspension. We wanted to add lights. We wanted to add a high idle type thing. There's all this stuff, and we're looking at the beast mode just going, well, everything's there.
And everything else was on back order. The vendors are there's so much demand right now for van components, and it's amazing. But it's also, there's that instant gratification piece that you want as well. And so the real selling point on the Beast for us was the auto start, the boost mode, because of the dog, the air conditioning. So that's really why we bought the Beast. It's been good for us. So we ended up, we were going to sell the Classic outright, but because of Washington State's sales tax regulations and such, it made more sense for us to trade it. So we had some really good partners. We bought our Classic from Chase at Johnson RV in Fife, Washington, and then I'm going to give a massive shout out to Ben Maddox in Sandy, Oregon, who is just a storyteller expert and talked us through, what are the changes, what are the options, what's the timing, and did a really nice job of walking us through what to expect. Now, we expected this in August. Unfortunately, it did not arrive till October. But no, it's been a really nice. It's been a great, reliable vehicle for the most part.
Yeah, we have had spectacular success with it. And we made the decision, and it's just been great. It's just been wonderful. We're so happy to have it. And just all the adventures that we've gone on, and all the wonderful people that we've had the chance to meet. It's justified that decision I mean, we were camping in the Classic within within 5 days of buying the thing. Thankfully, it made it through the protests in Seattle with that.
Oh,
But
wow.
Yeah, the night we brought it home was the night there were the biggest protests in Seattle with the cars on fire that made all the national news and such. So luckily we were able to hide it. But we talk about how expensive these vans are, and they're certainly not cheap by any means. But for us, it was also the mental sanity. We lived downtown Seattle, and I'm very much a farm girl. I want to go hug the trees, but during a pandemic, you can't even get out to go to the office, to go to the city parks. And so that's yes, there's the monetary value, but there's also the mental sanity piece of just, I have to get out of this concrete jungle and, go hug a tree somewhere. And that's what it's been for us. So yeah, it's, both the Classic was great. The Beast has been a great upgrade.
Yeah.
And I think I said for us, the Beast was of course the auto start, but then the dimming lights, which is a silly thing,
it's
but
such a
the
silly
overhead
thing.
lights, the dim were
Yeah.
a nice bonus.
Yeah, that was a key piece as well.
That was it? That's what
It's I mean, it's the
Let's
small
keep it
things
real.
though, right?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it really is. Like, all right, we have the super awesome suspension and the wheels and tires, and those are great, but it's those small little improvements that you find that you're just like, oh, that's cool. They did that. Like the little patch that goes over the light on the Volta system. I mean, we were using a box from a little Verizon MiFi, and we just kind of shoved it up in there.
The 2020 Classic did not come with the fancy patch.
It did not come with the
Wow.
fancy patch.
2021 Beast.
So
Very appreciative. So yeah.
That's good. So for the listeners out there that have not seen your Beast number 13, you not only got the Beast, but then you beastified it even more. So can you just quickly go over the upgrades that you did on the Beast, and then I'll open it up to the audience?
Sure. I'll do my best, and then you could fill it in.
Okay.
Because we've made a couple changes along the way.
Just a few.
Yeah. So if I start at the front, we replaced the bumper, put a CA tuned hammerhead bumper on it, and put a winch on it, which probably means we'll never need a winch. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
That's the
knock on
plan.
wood. So we did that. We also added the Van Compass 2.3 suspension to it, because the Beast comes with a rip kit light, but it doesn't come with the aux shocks. And I just felt that it rode really harsh. And everyone has a different ride preference, but those were some things we've done to it. We had skid plates put on because within the first couple thousand miles, we broke a wheel sensor. Of course, skid plates wouldn't have saved that, but knowing now our driving style and our sense for exploration, we thought that would definitely be a safer thing to do.
Yeah, we got lucky that all we broke on that trip was the wheel sensor.
Wow.
It was a much rockier road than we expected, and I'd say anybody who's planning on going off road, get the skid plates, even if it's just for peace of mind. Just knowing, okay, if I hit that rock, I'll be okay. It's hugely worthwhile.
Yeah, it's been good. Let's see. We put the tire back under. So that was an outside van. They have
most
an
people
oversized.
take the tire out. You put
Exactly.
it back?
We're special.
We
We're very
did that.
special.
So the Beast comes with a wheel mounted on the back on the Alvan's mount. And initially, we wanted to put our bikes on the one-ups and mount them vertically. So to do that, we had to put the wheel underneath. And then what's kind of interesting is that even though we have the wheel underneath, the new wheel and tire combo don't fit in that space. So we actually have an original Beast wheel and tire combo as the spare. So.
It's we haven't got it perfect.
Yeah.
We've made some mistakes, we've changed some things, but yeah, the tire went back under to reclaim some rear door real estate. On the back, we've got Sherpas now on both doors. One door has I think it's a backwoods, the large expedition box. The other one has the we put an Owl Vans gearbox, and friends at Shoreline helped us figure it out. We put some diamond plate on the bottom, and that now carries our chairs, tables, yoga mats, so on and so forth to put it there. We've got a bike swing away backstage, I think, bike hitch on the back as well.
Yeah,
So
it's
carrying
the
bikes.
Rocky Mounts bike hitch.
Yeah, so it's we're carrying the house with us, and then up top we've got some Pelican cases, which has been just really fantastic. Of course, internet connectivity, I think, for anyone who's trying to work and travel has been critical. So the Wii Boost is on top, and then we've got we have
the Road Warrior
There you go.
Pep Wave package.
What's that?
So it's a Wi-Fi, and what it creates a network for the van, but it allows us to actually catch multiple cell signals. So like we have a SIM card for a Verizon, SIM card for AT&T. I think we got a T-Mobile on the way or something.
Just in case.
But what it lets us do is like, in this type of area, we can take a look. So either we can manually choose which card we want, like if we're starting to get really high on the data plan, or we can set it to automatically sense which one has the best network connectivity for wherever we are. So that's been really nice, because there are places, right, where it's sometimes Verizon is the best, sometimes AT&T is the best, and when you don't want to make a choice and just stick with it, you get something like this, so you can go back and forth.
And what's nice about the antenna we have up on the roof, not only does it bring in cell signal, but it can also bring in Wi-Fi. So if you're at a campground Wi-Fi or our favorite
like a Starbucks,
you can steal their signal, re-amplify it, and just
we can borrow their signal.
And stop by Starbucks and use their connectivity, which is fantastic. And I think it's also got GPS on it too, like if you want to kind of for like an anti-theft.
You guys are straight balling.
So.
In the data world, straight balling. I'm jelly.
We're making it work.
It's let's see. But then, so the other stuff that we've got. So we do have the for Riley especially. We do have the amp power steps. We had those installed. We do have Baja lights around the bottom. So we wanted to
zombies.
be able, for zombies.
We don't want zombies.
We wanted to be able to see the van without having to have the bright blue awning light on all the time. And then we also have the Canyon GSSS in the back, which we just got that, and we really like that. And then the other thing I think that we've done that a lot of people are apparently considering is we've upgraded our mattress.
Wow.
So we have 6-inch memory foam on that. We changed out the stitch, the cover on it a little bit, but we've got the memory foam on there too.
Cool.
Sleep is important, and then of course connectivity again. Was it GMRS?
We have a GMRS radio and a CB. Because you never know.
You got to talk to the alien somehow, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, hey, when we pass through Roswell here next week.
Don't stay at Walmart.
We won't.
Good advice. See, that's why we come out and see everyone.
Yeah.
So no, it's been an adventure, and it's the silly thing is, we have some cool upgrades that we've added to it, and we've learned trial and error. Some things work out, some things don't. But it's also the little tweaks. It's the little paper towel holders that still fit in the factory screws. It's finding little tweaks on the water knob that Paul Pritz is nice enough to share, and it's just been great. I think we had 20 or some vans today, and just being able to walk from van to van to van, and everyone is making it work, whether they're full timers, part timers, weekend warriors, bicyclers. Just seeing what everyone's doing, and everyone has a neat little mod, and so we've picked up so many things now that we want to do. So
I mean that's
pretty neat.
That's the fantastic part about being part of Stone Nation, right? Is that everybody is so open about what they've done. Where they've done it, how they've had it done, who they've had do it, and that's been really cool to just have some of those. There's a lot of us here who have had unique. We were the first time to do something, whatever it may or may not have been, and that's really cool that we're all finding those different solutions and then sharing it out with the rest of the Stone Nation. So
I would say please keep posting those mods on the Facebook pages, because I have learned so much and stolen. So please keep doing that, and don't be shy, because chances are if you're doing it, someone else might have use for that particular tweak. And I also it definitely seems like the storyteller folks are politely monitoring that page. So occasionally we see some upgrades that are related to a few of the challenges that we note. So it's a really nice group of individuals. But
completely agree.
We've enjoyed our changes, and who knows what the future brings for future mods.
Yeah, who knows? Okay, so let's open it up to the audience. Who has a question for this lovely couple? Oh, we got some winners up here.
I know. I should have paid folks off.
Yeah. Thanks for including us in this, and thanks for your generous amount of time today when you allowed us to come in and you gave the grand tour. And I might have popped this question to you before, but I'm looking at your vehicle right now, and it does not look light. What can you tell the viewers here on how much we need to pay attention to the gross vehicle weight rating?
So that's a great question to which I really don't have a great answer, because we should pay closer attention to it, but we honestly we haven't yet. We know that we probably have about 300 to 400 pounds on the back end, so the back doors and then off the hitch and whatnot. We have a couple 100 pounds on the roof. These things come out of the factory at about 8,500. So we're pushing it. We were kind of talking about it around the campfire last night, where most of these vans are probably pretty close to or already a little over, and it may be easier to just go, I know I'm over and I'm just going to be careful about it. But
we should stop it right there for insurance purposes.
But so the other thing too to remember though is, these are cargo vans. They're not designed as people haulers. They're designed to carry a lot of stuff. So yeah, we already have a lot of stuff in there, but I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm not concerned at this point, would be the fairest answer.
But it's a good point. It's on my list to stop by a scale and actually weigh it. So as soon as we find out, we'll post it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, many of us have gone the ride improvement package, Agile or other people, so you've got a beefier suspension. Does that add a considerable number of hundreds of pounds of capacity to the overall gross vehicle weight? Or do you know?
I don't know, but I wouldn't imagine so.
I don't think it adds capacity. I think what it adds is handling.
Yeah.
So without it, the shocks, like the stock shocks, you'll really feel like an old Cadillac where you're just bouncing and bouncing.
Yeah.
And so it'll just stiffen it up. So I don't know if it would actually add capacity, but more about the agility of the van with that much weight.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure it feels very agile.
It is. It's really nice. So it's like on the road coming in here, we just put it on full soft, and it was really nice and easy. And
full soft on the van compass.
Yeah, full soft on the van compass, and then driving in high wind, you put it on full hard, and it's like driving a completely different vehicle. It's just really, you don't have to worry about it getting too. You don't get blown across the road anywhere near as much. So.
Good question. We'll do some more checking though.
Yeah, we'll post it as soon as we get an answer.
Any other questions?
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. We
got a question over there.
It's a multi-part question, I guess. But so, being full-timers, what would you say your ratio of like cooking or eating in the van versus takeout or buying food prepared? And then of what you make in the van, what's your like go-to meal?
Oh, that's a good one. I like it.
Yeah, so we were politely reminded the other day that we should cook in the van more often. We
need a podcast on the van life cooks
seriously.
for Stonation, but I would say I think you asked how much was like packaged or stop and how much do we cook. I would say it's probably for us it's about a 50-50 mix for what we cook, but most of what we're cooking is pretty simplistic: hamburgers, hot dogs, warming up soup, or cooking something along those lines from a roadside stand. There's some serious cooks here that I envy, and I would love to see the cookbooks. And then if we're the quick and dirty, I think everyone just has to have something with them to be that quick and dirty meal. Hey, it's late, I drove too long, or whatever it is. And so as cheesy as it is, like Lunchables, and there are different brands like the Oscar Mayer, there's the Pepperidge Farm, but Lunchables are they're small enough, they're prepackaged, you can eat them as you're going down the road, have been awesome. And then of course just having especially since we've been in California for a little bit, having a fruit drawer, so oranges and all the goodies that come from California.
Yeah, I think one of the best things that we've made has usually just been like taking leftover hamburger and then beans and just kind of combining all that type of stuff together and just making, kind of true to just kind of camp food, right? Just the simple, just beans and meat, and that's actually been kind of enjoyable just to kind of experiment that way.
It's a good one. All right.
Did we have another question up front? Or wait.
Okay.
We have a question in the middle.
Thank you. I'm Dolly, and our van is Seymour Roads. And first of all, I want to say I understand your fountain pen obsession. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all that you showed us. So my question for you is, what comfort kind of changes would you recommend? What was the first thing that you did that was the most important comfort? And what did you do that really didn't contribute what you thought it would?
Ooh, that's a good one. So
I'll
I'm
answer the second part.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Be nice. So definitely the mattress upgrade. So we did the. To start with, we just replaced the foam in the factory mattress at 4 inches. And this is we disagreed. I thought it was just fine. Graham was like, nope, that's not good enough. So we've since replaced the entire mattress now with a 6-inch cushion. So that's been absolutely fantastic. The other piece is we ended up putting carpet tiles on the floor. So the FLOR brand company tiles. And it's just, I like to work barefoot. And so in the wintertime, it keeps your feet warm. It also deadens some of the sound. Those are probably the two comfort related upgrades I've really, really enjoyed. I think we both have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think the other one has been, it's another one where I kind of went back and forth with Michelle on, do we really need this or do we not? But kind of shout out to Pendleton's. We have a couple really nice Pendleton blankets, and they have been incredibly comfortable. They've been the right temperature, the right weight. They pack down small enough. They've been really nice. And I think the other kind of weird one that again, I really didn't expect it, but Michelle found a hat rack. And so we have this hat rack now that we just have screwed up into the ceiling of the van, and we store our hats up there. It's such a small little thing, but it gets them out of the way, and we always know where they are.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's great for like your felted hats that have to keep their shape. And so I think it's made for ranchers who have their cowboy hats. But anyway, it's a hinged hat holder that you just hold your hat upside down, and it sucks right back up to the ceiling, and you never have to worry about sitting on them or Graham yelling at me because I didn't take care of his hats like I should. So that's been good. But
make me sound mean.
Now it's your turn. The ones that didn't work out.
So not really a comfort, but we did one upgrade. Actually, no, I take that back. So we did one upgrade that we ended up reversing within about a week, and it was for kind of a comfort / safety, and that was we did the one-up bike rack, which really it looks spectacular. We tried doing it vertical on the back, and we have e-bikes. And it took 3 of us to get one e-bike up onto that one-up rack to go vertical.
We skipped arm day. So
yeah. We skipped arm year. But so that was one that within a week we had that turned, we had that reversed, and we went to the Rocky Mount. So maybe not necessarily a comfort, but certainly from a safety level, that was a big one where it sure looked like it was going to work great. It was going to keep the van so it wasn't exceedingly long. We're longer than we'd like to be right now. But it just didn't work for our bikes in particular.
The other one that we left behind on this trip, we did a bed extension. So of course we're about 5'10" each, depending on how much I shrink, so we're right at the cusp of being able to sleep crosswise comfortable, in our opinion, versus trying to go end to end. So we did a bed extension from Canyon, and they did a fantastic job installing it, great quality, and we did the one piece that goes all the way from side to side of the van. With the intention of when we're not using it, then it would kind of be a backstop to the Groove Lounge, and you kind of have a sofa in there. And it worked absolutely fantastic, but what we found is it's just a heavy piece, and then it shortens the length of your lounge because you're using it as a backstop. So that one we left behind for this trip.
Yeah.
And we found what works better for us is Graham's nice enough to give me the whole bed, and the dog gets the bed, and then he gets the Groove Lounge down below, which 90% of the time that's the way we sleep, and it works for us as well.
Yeah, you just keep finding those little solutions.
Good questions.
Any other questions? Going once? Oh, we got one
All right.
up front.
We're getting a beautiful sunset tonight
Yeah.
too. I
Yeah,
like
it's
this.
gorgeous.
Yeah, your light planning
Mountains
was
in the
spectacular.
background.
Yeah, it's really hard to beat this place. That is for sure.
Hey, thanks again for opening up your van. It's completely awesome. I just got so many ideas from it. I don't even know where to start. But when you decided to leave in December and go live full-time in the van, do you guys have a set date that you think you'll go back to the apartment, or is this something you're just going to keep going as long as it lasts? Or
That's a really
little
good
of
one. It's we to some extent a little impulsive. We knew that we had this point in time, for at least from now to September, where we don't necessarily have to be in the office. So we said, hey, let's do it, and we kind of did the value prop analysis for, does it pay off? Should we just keep the place in Seattle we're staying in? And it just didn't make sense for us, and especially as things change. And I think that's what we found now being out on the road. We're starting to look at, okay, do we really need to buy a house, especially with the housing prices right now? Is we're looking at, road life has been great. It's given us a lot of options, depending on our future work schedules. And a lot of companies are doing either pure remote or a hybrid approach, maybe 3 days in the office, 2 days out. You can choose where you live now. You can fly into town for the days you need to be in the office. And so now I think we're both reevaluating, and I don't know what will come of it. But, when we end up back near where our offices are, do we buy a house? Do we rent? Do we perhaps look at an RV or just live in the van for a while? Because there's so much opportunity, to be honest, to save money if we choose to go that direction. So that's to some extent, I'm not sure what the future holds, but it's going to be interesting. What we miss, I had a saltwater fish tank, so I couldn't bring my pet fish with me. I had...
Although we could probably find someone who could outfit the van to do that.
We'd find a way to do it, yes. Yeah, I had about 50 houseplants. And actually, the world is amazing. I posted on a plant board in Seattle, and I have 3 wonderful individuals that are plant sitting my babies until September. So not being able to have my plants, and then Graham does model building. So having some space to do that. Those are probably the 3 things I'd say that we miss about being in a small vehicle like this. But again, I don't know what the future holds, but I think this has really opened our eyes, and especially meeting everyone and more full-timers too, to see how things are working out for them.
Yeah, it's to echo a lot of what Michelle said. We don't have a set time. We have what we expect to kind of be some set times, but so far our employers are being relatively open with just kind of letting us do what we want, and so we've been very, very lucky with that. We don't, to be blunt, we don't have a place to go back to. When we go back to Seattle, until we find some place, we're probably going to be in
Airbnb.
in an Airbnb or at a Thousand Trails campground, outside Seattle. So I should say Airbnb or a Verbo.
There you go. Verbo.
So yeah,
Expedia.
Verbo. Thank you. But part of the challenge is not having that end date, and there's something kind of exciting about, we literally just stepped off the cliff and went, we're doing this, and there's been something kind of exciting and honestly a little invigorating about just doing that. It's been, and like Michelle said, we keep meeting so many people who are either living full time in the van, or we met, I think it's the global travel couple, just by happenstance. They were parked along the side of the road and we were traveling.
Our first other storyteller
Yeah.
sighting in the wild has been really fantastic, but it's opening a lot of opportunities. I honestly don't know what the future holds. Most likely we'll probably buy or rent a home and then still have our van
the van's not going anywhere.
to weekend. But it's been really fantastic and fun, and especially just something to go out and explore. And you're not locked in by geography or having a hotel room anymore.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
That's a good one.
All right. We have another question?
I have one question. This is Lorenzo, B2 Mode family, and I know that you guys have a lot of mods on your van, and it's awesome. It really is. But what's your next mod?
Ooh, that's a good one. Do you know?
That's a good question. I think there are a couple things that I would love to actually have. So part of the reason that I kind of got excited about the Beast, it's a really stupid reason, but I did, was because they said it's going to have an air horn. And I was like, cool, an air horn. I get an air horn. We got it, and it's an air horn, but it's not an air horn. And a couple weeks ago, we were going up the PCH, and there was a guy in another van, and we went by him, and we went, he, and he goes, honk. And we're just like, we need that. We need to figure out how to do that. So that's probably a silly one, but I think that's one.
And the stereo situation.
Yeah,
We've already
stereo.
started on some the speakers on the side, but I think it may need a little bit more there. But that's again going to be another expensive undertaking. So I would say speaker upgrades and then an always-on rear view camera are the two things
that's true.
that I'd really like to add.
That is probably the number one, is figuring that always on rear view camera.
But we're going to watch you to see what you're doing, because I'm pretty sure you're going to be ahead of us in no time.
Yeah, I mean, it's there are those things, but yeah, like the rear view camera, just to kind of echo that. I imagine we're not the only ones who can't really see out of their back windows anymore. And it's great that you can see around the van, but I'm sure we've all been tailgated by somebody where it's like, oh, I didn't even know you were there till you pulled out to pass me. And so having that extra little visibility would be really nice to have. So. And apparently Riley has decided he needs to be part of the conversation.
He's a star now.
Yeah.
Yes, he's a rock star. He's always been a rock star.
Yes.
It's a good question.
So.
Any other questions? Oh, we got one more.
Hi, I'm Lisa, and I'm from Boulder, Colorado. And Jeff and I got our Beast number 4 in October.
Mm-hmm.
And I wondered, like, as a full-timer, have you gotten that scary knock on the window in the middle of the night? Have you been chased boondocking? I think that's my biggest worry. Like, I'm not afraid to park where I'm not supposed to be, but I don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night.
So we've been we've been kind of staying in a lot of campgrounds. So
During the week, yeah.
During the week. So
Reception.
reception has been a key piece for us, and so we have not had that experience yet. We stayed at one campground where I fully expected to get that, because not so much because we were in a place that we shouldn't be, but more there are some campgrounds in California in particular that are restrictive, and they want a black and a gray tank. Like, you have to have a separate tank. And they won't just accept a cassette toilet.
Yeah. Or they have to go in and visually accept your cassette toilet, which if you're like
exactly.
much of us, you have all kinds of stuff put on top of that, and then they actually want to see your toilet. I'm like, trust me, it's there. But
So that was the one time that I was a little anxious that we were going to get it. We pulled into one spot outside of not Yosemite, Sequoia. We pulled out into one spot outside of Sequoia that we found on iOverlander, I think. And when we pulled in, that was one where we actually chose to move on, simply because there were some other people who were there and it just didn't feel comfortable. But I know we've been very lucky. There's a lot of people here who are full-timers or even just, weekenders who've had that experience.
iOverlander and Campendium, I think Free Roam, the apps are absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, they're huge.
It's the tribal knowledge, and take some, give some. But I think just the feedback to people say, hey, is it open? Is it closed? Did you get the knock? Didn't you get the knock? Staying on top of local regulations, especially with COVID. There have been some changes because in some cases hotels have been closed, and so they actually can't give you the knock and kick you out, which we've learned. So luckily we have not got the knock yet, and it's just something, yes, worried about it. We lock the doors at night to be safe, but I think that's one thing I've been super, super happy about is I don't think we've ever felt unsafe yet, either by the people around us or someone coming up unexpected, which, knock on wood, hopefully we never have to.
And a lot of that is just down to awareness too, right? Like I said, we pulled into that one and went, no, we don't quite feel like this is going to work for us. So we moved on. These vans, those of you with stealths, you can sneak in and out a few places better than we can. We've got this.
We don't
this
have a
thing
subtle
behind
van.
us. It's not subtle. People like to look at it. They like to walk around it. I couldn't tell you the number of times I've just walked into a gas station and come back out and there's someone walking around it. So it really is just being kind of aware of what the situation is, aware of who's around you, and know when to engage and when not to engage.
Yeah, good question. I think that's one thing we worried about before we ended up with our van was, do you feel safe? We've always heard the horror stories, and luckily nothing has come to fruition yet. So
yeah, we've been very lucky, very lucky. Yeah, right. Riley is he's a big guard dog, especially when there's a drone around. He does not like the drones, which is great because I have one. So yeah,
he's good company though.
Yeah, he is that. So
Awesome. Any other last questions out there? Going once, twice?
Those
All
are
right.
big questions. Those are tough ones, though.
Yeah.
I know.
It's good.
See,
Well-
this is why.
Just as the sun went down and it started to get just a little cool out, that's great
Yeah.
timing.
Bring some liquor next time.
So I like to end every podcast with the same question, and I think you guys know what it is. But what does it mean for you to be part of the Stonation community?
So we've listened to all the other podcasts, and it's interesting because our answer is the same as what you hear from almost everybody else. This really is such a family. Like we were talking about before, most people here can and have reached out to other owners and gone, here's my problem, help me solve it. Here's maybe not even a problem, here's just a need I have, help me figure out what that is. And it's just been, when we pass other camper vans, we kind of do the wave thing, but when you pass a storyteller, it's like everybody has to pull over and go, hey, how are you? What have you done? All that type of stuff. And that's been just really fantastic to just be a part of such a really cool, honestly, group of people.
Yeah, I think it's the giving and giving back. We take a little bit, we give back as much as we can for learning. I think at this point we're all still in the early adopter phase, so it's the honeymoon. There still aren't a lot of them out there, and so the fact that we've got 25 plus vans right now and is just unbelievable. So it's really been absolutely amazing, and just to meet people from different walks of life. But I think we found everyone is curious and eager to make changes, eager to make it their own, and super passionate about what's out there. And so just the camaraderie, I think, is fantastic. So
Yeah.
much as others have said, yeah. And especially with the pandemic, with COVID, it's been a nice outlet for me to research like crazy and figure out what kind of mods we're doing and what everyone else is doing, and to connect and to host some meetups every once in a while to meet some other individuals.
Yeah, and just to kind of carry on just real quick, what has also been fascinating is, and I hope it's what everyone else has seen as well, the number of people who want to be part of this particular community. We've shown this van, we've shown the Classic to multiple people, and it was all, I already have one, I haven't seen one, I want one, or I have one on order and I haven't seen it yet, I want to. And that has been just really, really cool to see the number of people who just even want to join the community. And so, yeah, it's a great group of people. I mean, we're all out here in the middle of nowhere. And it's beautiful out, and we all came because we all have the same van. That's really, really cool. So
Kudos to Rebecca and Chris. I
Yeah,
got to shout out
absolutely.
to our organizers.
Yep,
Absolutely
our
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, the unofficial organizers.
I mean, unofficial organizers of Meeting of the Modes 2021.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a great way to end the podcast. I appreciate your time. Thank
Yeah.
you very much, Graham and Michelle.
Absolutely.
And thank you to the audience for attending. I
Yes.
appreciate your guys' questions
for
and
coming.
support. And, happy trails, and I'm sure we'll see each other again very soon.
most definitely, hopefully by the side of a river fly fishing.
Absolutely.
It's coming. It's coming.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Stonation is a production of Park Media. The executive producer is Younghwa Kim. The audio engineer is
Stephen Grasso.
The marketing director is
Guillaume Golsong.
The original music and artist is done by
Jason Walsmith.
The sound designer is
Lorenzo Interiano.
and the webmaster is
Peng.
Without any of these people, this podcast couldn't happen, so a big, huge thank you. And a big, huge thank you to you, the listener. If you like this episode, please don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a 5-star review. This is Younghwa with Stonation, and I can't wait to share the road with you.